Hello everyone, so welcome to today's video. Today we are going to review our February 13th release, that is version 23.02.13 of our AdminLTE plugin for Appgini. So as usual, I'm just going to cover the key features that we have made, changes or improvements, or the new additions that we have made. So to get started, so you may notice these cards here, these table cards here. Previously you could not adjust the size, the table cards, specifically the ones that display the data for your Appgini tables. Okay, you could not control the size of these cards here, but now you see it's now possible for you to control the size of the table cards here. For these others that you do define yourself in the dashboard views, it's easier for you to do it, but for these ones it wasn't possible to do it, so you had to just work with what we have there. So right now it's possible to adjust the size of these cards. You can see right now these ones we have 3, and these ones we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them here with different sizes. So to modify the sizes of these cards, you just need to come to the settings, the table menus. Then now you'll find that we have added this new input here for card size. So by default you'll find a card size that's specified for you for all the cards. Then now you can start playing around with them to modify the size of those cards. Okay, so if you want to change the size of any card, you can just edit here the call MD, call SM, and call parameters. So you need to know the size that you want to specify there. It's open-ended now, you can specify whichever size you want to have for those cards. So that is it. So that's why we have the cards display in this manner here. So we can edit these sizes. Like let's say we want to edit for products to be the same size as product categories, so you can just come here, settings, table menus, then we go to products. So product categories is 4, 6, 12, so you just make it 4 here, and you save your changes. Save your changes and go back to the dashboard. You'll see now it has taken the same size here, so that it pushes this down. Okay, so you could adjust or play around with them the way you want. Now very easy and straightforward to do the editing of the sizing. So let's just take it back to where it was so that they render properly. That's it. Now you can play around with those cards the way you want on the dashboard there. For these others, you could specify the size when you're calling the function on the dashboard builder, like you can see here. Like for example this one, you see we could specify the size just right in here, so it was easier for you to specify the size for that. So this one, there's no problem with that. Then the other thing we have done is on the dashboard builder, another feature or an improvement on the dashboard builder here. You may find that these names here, they are truncated because of the size of this card, so the name could overlap and cause a scrolling behavior here. That's not really good for the UI, so we have trimmed this thing here. But maybe if you need to know which file you want to edit, so it will be very hard if you don't know the file names. So like you see, this one is admin's bottom file for the dashboard page. So if you hover here right now, you'll see we have added a tooltip here, a tooltip that lets you know which file you're editing now before you even click on it. Like you see, this one is anonymous bottom. These two files, anonymous, will be available for you if you want to have code that's for the anonymous group, and we have the other one for universal. So universal basically means if you have dashboard components that are applicable to all groups. Okay, so you don't need to go editing for each individual group one by one. If you have 100 groups or 20 groups, but the components are the same for all the groups, you could use these two files, universal bottom and universal top. So the components or whatever you put here will be displayed for all the groups that you have in the same way. So you edit once. So because if you do for each group, if you have to edit anything, you have to edit on all those files for those groups here. Okay, so you remember for each group you have the top one and the bottom one. So for the top one, will control the visibility of things above these table cards, this default table cards here. So anything above here is on the top, anything below here is on the bottom. So anything that you put in the bottom file for the dashboard appears here. That's it. Oh, the other thing we noted, some users complained that they needed to, you see the way this count is displaying here, it was formatted to only display a whole number with a comma separated value there. There was no input for decimal places. So we have also added the provision for you to specify the decimal places you want. If you have custom cards like these ones, you see these ones, you can be fetching your own data from a database or somewhere and has a decimal place. So it's easier now for you to put, like you see, for example, we have applied to this one here. So if you added a parameter for the info cards for the decimal place, you can now specify, like this one, if you have a value that has a decimal place that you're querying, you can now provide it. So you just come to the dashboard builder here. Then on this function, info box, we have 3 info boxes. We have info box 1, 2, and 3. So each of them, the same thing applies. So the last parameter for this will be a decimal place here. So in addition to whatever you have already, just specify the number of decimal places you want. If it's 2, if it's 1, like for example, if you say 1 here and save changes, then you come back to the dashboard here, you'll see now it has 1 decimal place. You see, it was 2, now it's 1. So depending on the values that you do have, you can now easily specify that. Okay, so let's go to the next thing that we have. We have also enabled right to left display on the interface. Also, we had several users requesting for that feature where they can have a right to left, because by default it's just left to right for most users, but there are those places where they need to render their display, or you have a client who wants the display on right to left. So it was hard for that, but right now we have the feature available in this version. So to enable it, it's very simple now. You can toggle between right to left or left to right anytime. So just come here, app settings, general settings, then scroll down to general configurations, then enable RTL. So right now it's no. So if you say yes here, then save changes, that will be applied. So if you go to the dashboard, you now see, things are now flipped around. So we have now right to left here. So that's as easy as that. So all your content, even if you go to this table view here, so it will be so for Appgini also supports right to left. So for this table view, you can see this one is not changed. So you'll need to do that in your Appgini generator. You change the display to right to left, so that it will be right to left also in the table view there. But the rest for our plugin here, it's applied. You can see it's applied here, but everything remains intact. There's nothing that has been thrown out of perspective here. Everything's still okay. So that's it. So you can also easily switch back to normal display. Okay, go to general settings, then save it. Okay, and go back to the dashboard. Here we are. So remember, you can also translate the user interface here of this if you want to translate to any language. There are some users who also offer to translate for us into several languages, so we'll compile those translations for different languages, and if you feel you can translate to other languages, you can also help us. So also we noticed that for calendar plugin, so we have right here, we have this messages plugin. This one is we have it supported by default. So if you find that your Appgini application had a plugin for messaging, it will automatically pull it and show this menu here. So if you had installed the plugin and it's not available, this menu will disappear automatically. So we have this for messages. So it will also show you the count of messages that you have, unread messages, or so you click on it and you can do anything basically as usual. Okay, So that's it for messages. So you can reply and so on. So for calendar, it's not supported by default, so we find that you won't be able to see them on the menus right here, but you can do that. So but it will be a bit cumbersome. So you'll notice when you do generate your calendar files, they are stored in the hooks folder. So they'll be stored in the hooks here. So you just come and take your like say calendar this, then take that link and come to the custom pages builder here. Then you create a custom page for your calendar, then you put the name, the icon, the group, the table group you want to appear there, the groups that can access that. Then here you'll provide the custom link. So for example, this is the custom link. So it must start with this AdminLTE view.php page is equals to that. Now from here you'll specify the hooks, then the file for your calendar. The file path for your calendar is hooks, then it could be anything else here. So it's not a must it'll be the same as this, because this is just an example, but I was just showing how you can link it now to the interface. So once you create it, like for example, we say bookings per month here, then we say calendar, then we say we want it under the extras, then that one, then the link for calendar. This link doesn't exist on my application, but I'll just demonstrating how that will look like. Okay, so if you go to the extras menu here, you'll find your calendar link already now here. You can now click it to access it. So for me it's not there, so it won't show. You see, there's no calendar, but that's how it should work basically. So we can delete that page. It's that easy. So you can delete the page here. Delete it. You can also have external links, like for this one, Appgini helper library. So if this is an external link, you can also add it to your menus. If you have external links to something else, you can easily also do that. You see, for this one we just put the link to the Appgini helper library here. It is, so it's an external link. So if you click on it on the menu here, it will just directly take you to that link or site that you've specified. So here it is. Okay, so that's how to add custom links. So you can also, this one you can also create. If you don't want to have a custom link, you just leave it blank. So if you leave it blank, that means you'll have to edit the code of that page, so to whatever you want. Maybe you want to create extra pages for something else, to render data or pull data for your view, or do queries, extra queries, or build extra dashboards. You can just play the code and edit it here. You can use our widget functions from the documentation here and use them here. It's very simple and straightforward. Then finally, I think there's another feature that a few people also had concerns of translating, not translating, sorry, of encrypting data. So in some cases you may find that you have data that you want, it's very sensitive, and you want to encrypt how it is stored in the database, so that in case someone accesses your data from your DB directly, they may not know, or they may not really get the actual data that you have stored here. So let's show you an example here in a table, this table called test enc. So I have the table here, table test enc, in my database. So I have card number, card holder, expiry date, blah blah blah. So my fields of concern are card number and card holder. So for this particular data, I presume it to be very sensitive. So I don't want anyone to know the card number of this, or the card holder, or the CVV number for that card. So I'll encrypt it and store it in the database. So in the database, this is how it looks like, right? So it doesn't make any sense to anyone who's looking at it plain eyes. But on our front end here, you'll see that our data is decrypted and displayed on the table view here. you may notice that it's really trying to decrypt the data that we have here. So even if you edit this, it's decrypted here. So even if you edit, say John Doe's, it will encrypt this as you save it. Okay, John Doe's. Even if you come to the, you see, that is it. So this feature is really not stable yet. This encryption feature, we are still working on it, but it will be available. You may notice that, you see, if I click there and refresh, there are some fields it's not displaying here, so it's still in the beta version. So but it's good for experimenting and for feedback purposes, so you can give us feedback on how to improve it, but it does the work right. I think we just need to fix something about decrypting for all these fields, but for detail view it's perfect. It does its job perfectly here to decrypt the data. So let's go straight into how to enable it for any table that you want. So you come to this menu here, go to data encryption. We have added a new menu called data encryption here. Click on it. Then you'll find your tables here. All your tables will be here for your application. Perfect. So for us, the table we were dealing with is test enc, this one. So you can select the fields you want to encrypt. So for this case, it's card number and card holder. You select them. You can select multiple fields, pressing the control button and holding multiple fields, or deselect whichever you don't want to encrypt. Then save changes. After saving changes, that's it. But you need to set up first for this table. For each table has its own setup, right? There's own unique setup instructions for each table, so you don't need to replicate the only one thing. Like for example, let's see how to set up. So you'll see this model here, how to set up encryption for test enc table. So yeah, there's a note here. Once you install this on a table, you'll have to start with new data. Existing data will not be properly rendered. So this means your table, when you have to clear the data there, all of it, then start inserting new data, because it will be encrypted now properly and decrypted properly. I think that's clear. So the first step here is hooks global. So there's a file called global, this _ global in the hooks folder. So this is the file that you will have to paste this code in. So this one is the only one that applies to all the tables. This one doesn't change. It's the same thing, and you only do this once. Once you put this code in the global, the PHP file, you won't need to do it. Even if you go to another table, let's say categories, it has the slashes, but if you've already put it, you don't need to put it again. What you'll only need to put for each table individually and uniquely is starting here, hooks categories .php. This code here, you put it under the following functions: categories before insert. Categories, that's the table name. So you'll realize each table will have its own name. So this one says categories, and this one says test enc. So each table is very unique there with its own functions. So here we go. So this code, you copy it and paste it in this test enc.php inside before insert and before update. So this means it will be encrypting the data before you insert it and before you update. In case you want to make an update, so it will be encrypting it all the time. So this simple code. So let me show you in this context here. So go to the hooks folder, then go to the test enc, the table name that we want, then before insert. Here's before insert. I have put the code right here. That's all you need to do. If you have any other logic that you want to do on the data before the data is encrypted, you can do it. You can do it above here, do whatever you want to do, but as long as it's being gone, it will be stored. You now put this one so that it will encrypt the data. So before insert, okay, yes, before insert is here. Then also before update is here. So that's all you need to do. So you realize this one is very manual. You need to do it step by step for each table that you're interested in. Okay. Then after doing that, you'll go to the table tv.js, also in the hooks. So everything here is in the hooks. There's nothing that's outside the hooks here. So tv.js. So this code will be responsible for decrypting our data, because Appgini will fetch the data as it's stored in the database. The way it's encrypted, it will retrieve it that way and display it on the table view. But now we want to use this function, this functionality here, to decrypt the data so that we can see it live, like in a way that makes sense to the eye. Now, okay, so this is for the table view. So for the table view, you copy this. So this file called test.enc.tv.js is a file. It should be in the hooks folder. So by default, it's not existing. Appgini doesn't create it. So if you haven't created for the table this file, you need to create it afresh. Just create this file in the hooks folder. You can copy it. So for each table is specified, so you can just copy it and create it and paste this code inside. So for this case, I have this one. Starts here and goes all the way here. I've pasted it there. The way it is for each table, it's very unique for each table, because you realize there is a table name here. Then there is a table name here also. So for each table, you just copy its code and put it there. Then we have the other one finally for the table name, dv.js. So this is the file name. If it doesn't exist, you will also create it, the hooks folder, and copy this code inside. So this one decrypts the code in the data view. So once you view the code, the data in the data view, like when you want to update it, you see it will also fetch the exact values that they are stored, but this one will decrypt it and display what's decrypted, so that you can have a look at it. So in that folder, dv.js, table name dv.js, you paste in this code here. This one. This is the code you need to paste. So it will do everything for you, the decryption of the data. So this is it. It's as simple as that. The 4-step procedure here. The code is already there for you. You just need to paste it and follow the instructions. So this code that we said here is only done once. You don't need to repeat it for every table. It's just done once in the global PHP. Has an encryption key. So this encryption key is set by default. So let's say you want to use your own encryption key for the encrypting data. So once you do this, you go to the hooks global.php file and change this encryption key. That is before. If you have data that is already encrypted, you'll have problems. So you need to change it before you start encrypting your data for your tables, right? You need to note that. So let's say you have installed it for the first time, you'll change it, then start encrypting data, and that, because if you have data that's already encrypted and stored, then you change it, you'll have a problem decrypting it, because the key is different now. The key that was used to encrypt it is not the same one that you're using now to decrypt it. So it will be a bit problematic for you. So if you need to change it, it's in the function here. So you come to this file in the hooks, this one. The function is here. Here's the function I've inserted here. This file could have other things for your Appgini application, but for our case, we have put it here. So this is what you'll change. If you need to change it to something else, you can change it in here. Okay, so if you do change it in here, there is a file, also another file that you will have to change also. It's called this one, AdminLTE deck.td. It's also specified in the comments here. If you change here, you also need to change here, because this is the decryptor function. So the decryption function, you pass in the encryption key. So you'll notice this is the same as the one on the encryption function. This is the same. So you need to change here and there before you start. That is if you want to change the key. Okay, so I think that's it for encryption. So once you've followed all these procedures here, for any table, you must have saved the fields here. The fields here, you must have saved that first, save changes, then set up. So you will come to your table, come to your table here, and your data is there. So you see the decrypted data will just have, it's not clickable actually, so because it's just decrypted directly and stored here. So you can click on anything or whichever other thing you have there to edit it. You see, you can edit. So you'll realize that this thing is decrypting this data as you view this page, it decrypts it, because in the database it's stored like this. Okay, so you will note that this thing is still in its early stages of development. It's not really stable yet, so I may highly advise that you not use this for production yet, because you may see there's some defects here and there. Because if you do check this one, print preview, you see, let's see, if you do all of it, see, it's missing some data there, so we have to really polish on that, but it's not consistent. You will see if you refresh, it brings out of it. Also, if you do export CSV here, let's see, the CSV file will have the data that was encrypted. Yeah, so those are some of the issues that we are trying to address, but this is just to give you an impression of what's possible with this encryption tool. Yeah, you see this, the data is here. See how it looks like? Yeah, the CSV format. That is it. But for the print preview, I think it just does the same as the table view decryption. You can print that. That's no problem. Okay, so that's it. I think we will have to appreciate this. So for those who wanted that feature, so it's very possible. Some few bugs remaining to be fixed here, and that's it. So thank you guys for your support and continued suggestions for features. So if you have any other features that you think will be very useful or important, or make this plugin useful to you and you need to suggest it, you can bring it on. Your suggestions are very highly welcome, and that's it. So enjoy your coding, and I hope this plugin is helping you make your work easier and render your Appgini generated applications in an easy way. So that's it. Till next time, guys. Bye bye.